Hello, welcome to Master Your Love Life with Mike, Easy Dating Coach, and Breakup Addict Paige. How you doing today,
I love
Paige?
that that's how you identify me now.
Yeah,
Do you like dating a breakup addict?
I love it.
Oh, yeah? What do you like about it?
You've had all these fun adventures that you've learned from, and now I get to date the aftermath of all your learning.
Yeah, I'm a recovered breakup addict. Let's be real. Let's be hopeful. Let's cross our fingers.
Yeah, let's not break it up.
We want
Anywho, this is our episode 2 of Master Your Love Life, and we don't necessarily love this podcast title, so if you want to go in the comments and offer us a new title, please do so. We would love that. And
we're trying to figure it out. This is kind of a placeholder right now until we uncover what our title's going to be.
yes. And if you'd like audio only instead of video, we can upload that to YouTube. So let us know if you just want audio only instead of video. We're open.
So many possibilities
Yes.
in tech and the world and our relationship.
Yeah. Today's topic is...
I keep trying to throw him off. He's got like a plan. You're so like strategized and you got your plan. You're like, okay, A, B, and C, this is what we're going to do. And I just keep like throwing things your way. Yeah, I know. You're like, no, we're not going there.
Masculine, straightforward, here we go.
Yeah, totally.
Focused.
Single focus man. Here we go.
Yeah, me. So we got a few comments about what the heck did Paige do for her like conscious dating plan. So we wanted to talk about it today. End result for her was once she decided to do a conscious dating plan, she only needed to meet 2 men to find someone she was into.
Yeah.
And just, she had a train wreck of like, I don't even know, probably hundreds of men prior to, maybe not hundreds.
I wouldn't say hundreds, but like, yeah, a string of unsuccessful, unhealthy, me repeating the same toxic patterns over and over again before I really had to like hit a rock bottom to realize I needed to do something differently.
Absolutely. And so if you're watching this, maybe you do toxic stuff, maybe you don't, but I guarantee almost everyone watching this, including myself, is just like, I'm single, I want to fall in love, let me just wing it and let me hop on some dating apps, I'll put myself in the dating pool and I will find my person. And you're like, is there a more efficient way? Could there be a better strategy? And today we're going to give you a system that makes it a lot more efficient.
We have a system. Ooh, we have a system. I guess we do. I didn't think of it as a system before, but
You have like
I know
notes in a...
I do have notes.
It's a system.
I've just never called it that. But I created this, it's a conscious dating workshop for my community, and I'm going to share with you all some of the, some of like the main bullet points of the conscious dating plan and what I went through in order to create this. Cool. So should we jump in?
Yeah, how do we do it?
All right. So first of all, the first thing I think, and in anything that you like are setting out to do in a new way, right, where you're maybe making yourself a little bit uncomfortable in order to get to another level in your life, is to set an intention. And that was what I did first and foremost. So not necessarily a goal, right? Because the goal could be like, I want to get a husband. And then if you don't get a husband, like you see yourself as you've failed or you're unsuccessful at like reaching that goal. Whereas an intention is really something that you get to like, you have power over. So an example is my intention is to have really meaningful conversations with a variety of people and practice boundaries in those connections. And that was one of my big intentions with conscious dating, was like, I really want to be practicing saying no, setting my boundaries, like giving myself a time limit on these dates. And so, yeah, I would say that's first and foremost, is an intention.
I like that you say, so it's not a failure. 'Cause I think that's like been really big in Like the thing that's been difficult for me the last like 6, 9 months was like losing weight.
Yeah.
And if I would have said I must be at a certain weight, like there would have been so many failures. Like every time I hopped on the scale, I'd been like, crap, didn't lose the weight. Oh, I'm up 2 pounds. I'm not down the amount I'm supposed to be. But instead I was like, the intention is eat healthy, work out. And I was doing that. So every day I could be like, Mike's doing well, instead of looking at the scale and be like, Mike's failing.
Yeah, like attaching it to an external circumstance or an external reward, right? That you don't necessarily have control over. Like me getting a husband out of dating wasn't necessarily something I have control over, you know? But practicing my boundaries on a date was like something I could have immediate results for, you know, immediate control over and make adjustments as I went. Yeah. And then you make yourself wrong too. Like when you like don't meet that expectation you've set for yourself, it can kind of like shrink you down, you know, and be like, oh, no, I didn't do it. I might as well give up or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've set our intention.
We've set our intention.
Now what do we do?
Now, this is the fun part. So like, I would say this is like step 2, and this is a little bit deeper work, but this is to identify your healthy and unhealthy patterns when it comes to relating to people, and specifically for me when it comes to dating. So I'll just give you some examples of these. Like my workshop, I go really deep into these, but some of them are, for example, and so an unhealthy pattern would be something like oversharing, I would say overdoing it in some way. Oversharing, over-consuming, overspending, overstaying on a date, like staying like way longer than maybe is resonant to stay on the date. So overdoing it is an unhealthy pattern. Whereas like the healthy alternative to that is acting, I say, right size for the situation. So if you're on a second date or a first date, maybe even a third date, not sharing everything about your sexual history right away, right? But maybe like whatever would be right size for the situation is, you know, sharing something like I really like to build intimacy over time really slowly with a partner. And that would be something like a little bit more of a right size share for a first, second, or third date. So that's an example. Do you see yourself in that, in any of like the oversharing pattern, or what do you think you're usually like pretty right size in how you share on a date?
I think it depends. I don't know. What was your experience? Did I overshare?
No.
All right. I guess I didn't.
No, you didn't overshare. There was a really good balance that we had between like you sharing and me sharing. It felt like a really good, nice, resonant flow in our conversation.
Cool.
Yeah. And like the other side of this unhealthy oversharing pattern is like underdoing it. So like not sharing at all, like staying closed, not opening your heart, being withheld, withdrawn, maybe like even like not eating at all, right? Like just having like a little bite of something, underdoing it. And again, the healthy alternative to this is right size, right? So like, yeah, I wouldn't go on a date and overeat or overspend, right? But there totally have been times in my past where I've gone out, and I bet you have too, is like go out and you like keep taking shots or having drinks with this person, and then by the time the date's over, you're drunk and you don't even realize, like you forget who this person is in front of you, or you realize you didn't even get to know them.
Yeah. Should I share the one my friends all make fun of me for that you know about? The overspend?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Oh, yeah, you do have this pattern.
Yeah, I do. Oh, I did.
You did.
So, I met this woman at a bar, and I wasn't drinking, and she was pretty drunk, but she was very good looking, like, great personality. Like, it seemed great. She seemed fantastic. So she would actually wanted me to come over that night. first time I met her. And I was driving with other people. Anyway, I didn't go over, but I was excited to see this woman. So I think we went on a first date. And then on the second date, I'm like, this must be my wife. Must be. I know her so well, and she must be my wife. So I'm like, let me do this like extravagant date. And I ended up taking her to Catalina Island, and it ended up costing me about $1,200 for this date on a second date where I barely knew her, because this must be my wife, and why not spend all this money for this great date?
Yeah.
Needless to say, she's not my wife.
That's wow. I actually got a little jealous when you shared that story. I was like, you never took me to Catalina. The $1,200
I'm on the conscious dating plan. I don't know what to say.
You are, without knowing it. You hopped on the conscious dating ride.
Yeah.
Wait, there was something you just shared about that was like really good. This is another unhealthy pattern, is like this idea of you only live once, so I better just like let her rip, give her everything, give it all right now, like this sense of urgency in the date, right? And feeling like there will never be another opportunity to experience this in this way, or to be with this person again in this occasion, so I might as well like live it up. So that's another unhealthy pattern, and the healthy alternative to that would be like slow down. Like just let yourself slow down and trust that if it is meant to be, and if this is a good relationship, it will unfold at its own time, at its own pace. You don't have to control and manipulate the timing and try to like stuff everything in on the front of it.
Yeah, and just to talk like about some of the science about this, there's been a lot of studies that show how our brain functions in terms of attention, and we know through these experiments we can do an hour and a half. So if we are deeply focused on something, for example, on a date where we're connecting, we can do an hour and a half straight of being at 100% capacity. And the moment we exceed an hour and a half, our capacity to really be there in that moment starts decreasing. So every time your date extends past an hour and a half without breaks, you're starting to bring down your capacity to really be present and really be with this person.
I'm shook by that. I didn't know there was like science to back that up.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's why when like in corporate America, when they have presentations, they try to give you a break if they're doing it right on every hour and a half or so that you can reset your brain a little bit.
Wow, because your attention starts to dissipate or
correct.
Like you get exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, that brings me to another unhealthy pattern, which is, I guess that's kind of the same. It's like extending the time too long. It's like going out it's like being on the date way too long. I used to go on like 8-hour dates.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, like I've done this too.
Yeah.
As a guy that sometimes was like in my past was just on a date to try to have sex. Like I'm like, I want to get laid. And I may or may not have really liked this woman, but I knew that if I stayed on a date long enough, it was almost like taking away her sobriety. And even if we weren't drinking,
yes.
Yeah, her brain would feel so connected with me after a long enough date that maybe she starts making decisions she wouldn't have normally made. Like she's like, oh, let me go home with this guy. I feel so connected to him.
Yes.
And even if you're not in a place of worrying about whether you're going to go home, like, I'm not going to go home with him, but I am having a great time. I'm going to stay there. His brain is getting the same thing where he's not feeling like himself. So he can't make an educated decision about you, whether he likes you, whether he wants to just sleep with you. Like, we really need to take these dates to an hour and a half, an hour, like much shorter, and then just see them again and reset our brain. And every time we see them, we get to evaluate in between dates, how am I feeling? How do I feel about this person? And so forth.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Because I remember, I think it was maybe our first or second date. I mentioned to you, I was like, oh, there's hot yoga tomorrow. Let's go to hot yoga together. And I think it was like 10:30 in the morning or something, and we had ended the date, and I got home and I was like, oh wait, like that's too close together. I need more time in between to digest. And I was actually really scared to like call you and say, hey, when I told you, I got really excited because I wanted to see you again when I told you I wanted to go to hot yoga, and I need more time from now until our next date. So I'm going to have to cancel hot yoga with you tomorrow. And it was also like, hot yoga is such an intimate thing. Like, you're sweaty and you're like half naked. And it was like our second date. It was just a little too much. But yeah, it's so important to have that time in between to actually digest. Like, dating is a very, and I love that you're like bringing your coaching like frameworks into this with like the science and the research and everything, and the way that I like hear that in my coaching framework is dating is such a high sensation experience. There's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of sensation. You're like feeling so much in your body, right, with this new person. And when you have a high sensation experience like that, like a peak experience, you really need time with yourself, like back in your life, to digest that experience and let yourself really feel it all and integrate it all.
Absolutely. And like really assess what you've learned with this person. Like, what do I like? What do I not like? What am I curious about? What do I need to know more about to see if they can be my partner? Instead of just like, wow, that felt really good. Let me do it again. Ooh, that like feels good, feels good, feels good. All of a sudden we're in bed and it's like, did I really get to know if this person could be my forever partner, or like really get to know them? Or am I just like, it feels good, and now we're having sex, and now there's all these chemicals and I'm like, I don't even know how I feel. I just know all of this is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's so important to go slow.
Yeah, slow's good.
Slow is good. And the other thing you said about taking away her sobriety, I loved that you said that, because the other word for this conscious dating plan is a sober dating plan. And I don't use that word with it because a lot of people think like, oh, it means you can't drink alcohol, but that's not actually what it is. It means sober-minded. So staying like clear-minded, staying conscious, staying with yourself in your body, in your dating process, so that you can make really grounded choices about the person you're dating.
Yeah. And I want to tell about our specific experience. So on our, I believe it was our third date, we kind of messed up a little bit. So, we're not perfect, but hopefully you can learn from our lessons.
We were just so excited.
Yeah, so after our second date, we came home, I think both of us thinking we really like each other. And then on our third date, we went to play beach tennis, and then we got some tea. And we hit our hour and a half at this point. But we were hungry. So then, we're like, why don't we go to dinner? And we go to dinner, and at this point, like, our brains were starting to turn to mush. We'd been paying way too much attention to each other, way too much communication. There was no break. And so finally, at the end of the date, like, we had a very passionate kiss. Mm-hmm. Do you remember?
I do remember. Yeah.
And I believe at the end of our second date, you said, I went to kiss you, and you're like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, we stopped near my house, like around the corner, and oh gosh, it's so hard because you leaned in to kiss me, and I knew that I wanted to, like I felt in my body that I wanted to, but like according to my dating plan, it was too early, right? So it was this like kind of mixed signal that I was shooting your way, where you felt like my desire to kiss you, and so you responded to that, and I said no, and I think it confused you a little, and I was like, I just want you to know it doesn't mean anything about you. I really enjoyed our time together. I want to see you again, and I need to go a lot slower.
Yeah. And then I told her, I'm like, well, I won't kiss you until you're begging me to kiss you. And that definitely did not happen on the third date. But we kissed. And then what happened after that? What happened?
So I so according to my dating plan, right? And I'll say this is the most prescriptive way I've ever done dating. Like I have never had such a structured itinerary or like agenda for dates. So this was all very new to me. And according to the dating plan, it wasn't until the fourth date that I was allowed to kiss. And
Oh,
at the
I
end,
didn't know that.
yeah, well, I didn't tell you that.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
because then it's like oh, I can't. You know, it was like a tease thing.
Oh yeah, you
Could be
can't
like
tease
a-
me.
I can't kiss you until our fourth date, and then it's like drawing him in more and like can be like manipulative. So yeah, I was not going to share that with you.
Okay.
That was a withhold. And yeah. So yeah, our fourth date, and since we kissed on our third date, I was like, I woke up the next morning and I was like, I wasn't really ready. Like, I didn't really want to. Our date totally peaked. Like it was over in the middle of it, and then we had a second part of the date, and I felt like I had gone unconscious. And so I woke up being like, oh, what did I do? Like I woke up in so much shame because I thought I had totally messed this up. You know, I'm really trying hard to stay conscious for the first time in my life in dating. And I woke up like being so hard on myself and feeling like I had messed it up and that I had abandoned myself in making out with you. Even though it was a great kiss and it felt good, I just totally kind of energetically died the next day. And I came over, I think later that day. I worked through a lot of my tools that I have. I have community, I have a sponsor, I have sisterhood, I have, you know, my own like practices. So I worked through a lot of my tools and got through the shame. You know, I was like, we all mess up. Like, it's okay to be messy. It's okay. Like, this dating plan is for me, you know? It's not, this dating plan is not God, right? So I came to you and I was like, this is how I felt today. Not putting it on him, right? Like, I really didn't want to blame him or anything like that. And I wanted to be sensitive of your experience because you weren't in that experience at all. Like, I think you had a completely different experience of it.
Yeah, I was shocked because I remember I was like, we kissed finally. This is great. And I was all happy. And then you like felt bad. I'm like, oh, I got a little deflated. But it turned around with you saying whatever you said.
Yeah, I said that I want you to feel the impact of me abandoning myself. Like, this is what happens in my system, in my world, in my body when I go past my limits or go past what's comfortable for me or go unconscious, you know? And I feel like I said something you asked, you were like, can you just assure, like you said something like, can you assure me or tell me that that it was okay or something. I don't know what you said.
I think like when you came to me with this, I was thinking you were breaking up with me. I was like, oh, I'm messed up. She's dumping me. But then I was like, can you give me some like, she's like, I don't want to have any physical contact. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do you like me? Basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the reassurance I was looking for.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm not going to keep dating you if you're not like into me. So then you gave me that reassurance. So I was like, all right, fine. We're not going to kiss or like do anything for a while. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because I like you. I like hanging out with you.
Yeah, and just to presence everybody too, like I did take physical intimacy back off the table because it was just way too out of my range at that point. And the whole purpose of this conscious dating plan is to build an emotional connection with somebody first. And that's why I'm not supposed to or whatever, but like we don't do any of the physical stuff at the beginning. It's like, let's see if there even is an emotional connection between us. Can we get along as friends? Because that's the thing that lasts, like the physical stuff you just put on top of the emotional thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think for me, for the first time ever, I do feel like we genuinely built like a friendship first, where I wasn't just looking out for my self-interest. Like when I'm dating, it's kind of like, I want to have sex or I want to find my partner or whatever I want. But as a friend, we start to care about the other person. So we built this friendship where I was like, well, what does my friend need? And so I started like thinking about her and myself. And then eventually, there was romance throughout, but eventually like the sexual part came. And just to give people like a timeline, I think it was about 20 dates or so. And I was joking with her, of course, like, oh, we're the 40, it's like that movie, 40-Year-Old Virgin, we'll go on 40 dates. And then she's like, yeah, 40 dates. I'm like, no, let's not do that.
I'm like, 40 dates, that sounds great.
I'm like, no, we don't need to do that. I'm not Steve Carell.
And I was celibate for a year and a half before this. So I was like, there was even a point during my celibacy where I was like, I don't know if I'll ever have sex again.
She's so charming, I convinced her. So anyway, all right,
Okay,
so dating plan, what's next?
So the healthy and unhealthy patterns, those are just a few that we've named. And identifying, what are your healthy patterns, what are your unhealthy patterns? Then I wrote out my yellow, orange, and red flags. And for some people, it might just be red flags, Yellow flags are more like just things to be aware of, right? Things that, like perk up your attention on, just, if there's something. So here's an example, is someone who complains a lot, that's a yellow flag for me. Someone who name drops a lot is a yellow flag for me. It's like, okay, like not the most attractive thing, but I can live with this. Like maybe he's like maybe he's uncomfortable or like nervous or whatever, right? Someone who shows up late, someone who can't articulate their goals or be like positive, right? So those are just some examples of yellow flags. I say proceed with caution with yellow flags.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any of those. I don't think you have any yellow flags. Arrogance.
Oh. That's fair.
Talking too much. No, you don't talk too much.
I do.
You talk it's a good balance.
Thanks.
Yeah. There's like a lot of, dates where one person will just go. The other person doesn't talk at all. So orange flags are things where you may want to you slow all the way down before moving forward. So love bombing, something feels off in my body, someone who has no friends or doesn't speak well of their family, someone who overshares about their ex, someone who's withholding crucial information, like how old they are. Questionably available. Those are just some examples of yellow flags. Orange flags.
So if there's an orange and you like them, do you then pipe up and tell them? Or is this like you're done? Or what's the process?
I think if an orange flag comes up, I would probably... And here's the thing, I didn't really date that much within my conscious dating plan. So this didn't come up. But I think if it did, I would have ended the date politely and checked in with my people, with my friends, my sponsor, my mentor, journaled about it, just done some excavation. So really pushing pause fully if there's an orange flag situation. And then for a red flag is stop the dating arrangement altogether. So these, common red flags, showing up wasted, someone who's racist or sexist, someone who's argumentative or aggressive, hyperreactive, rude to service people, pressuring, if I felt unsafe in any way, derogatory remarks, also an active addict. So those are some red flags.
Yeah, those are some serious red flags.
How many of those do you have?
I think 0. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes. No red flag.
Okay, and then when you like set up your dating, so these are just things to identify before the dating plan and just maybe journal on. And then when you set up your dating plan, you can identify what are the things you need before the date. What are the things that'll support you in staying conscious during the date? So maybe it's like taking a bathroom break and just breathing a few times in the bathroom halfway through the date to like come back to your body, you know, if you're not able to be in your body. I remember our first date, I was so nervous and I was like shaking and we're walking and you're like, do you need anything? And I'm like, I think I just need to breathe a little bit. So we stopped and took a few deep breaths and it just changed. It made me feel so much better, more grounded.
Yeah, it's really powerful. If you just take literally like a minute to breathe and maybe just, because I'm like a numbers person and I can't do anything without structure. Some of you are like this. Like doing 10 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and then repeating that a few times. The science tells us that it basically feels like a mini nap and actually gives you more energy and makes your brain work a little bit better. So if you go to the bathroom and then go breathe, you're going to come back like a little refreshed and a little more present and a little more able to be there.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
I love breathing with you. And then aftercare, after the date. Like, what do you need after the date? Do you need to, call a friend? Do you need to meditate? Do you need to, like, I don't know, dance it out? So many options for aftercare after your date. Yeah. And so that's kind of, those are like the bones of the conscious dating plan. And then there's, like I've been talking about throughout, are the tools to use. So having the dating plan itself is a tool. And for me, it was first 3 dates are, I'll just like lay out exactly what my plan said. It was the first 3 dates are walking dates during the day or when the sun's out, and no alcohol for me on those dates, and 1 hour, 90 minutes max for the dates.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here. A lot of people work 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys are going to say like, oh, let's meet for a drink or let's meet for coffee at like 8 o'clock or meet for something at 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it's dark most places, most of the time. How do you, without sounding naggy or like difficult, change that scenario for yourself?
I would just say I'd prefer such and such, right? Is just advocate for what you need and what your desire is. So, yeah, if somebody's wanting to meet late at night, maybe that's like a yellow flag to begin with, right? But sure, say I'd prefer to meet on Sunday morning for coffee for an hour, and really set it up as like, do you have an hour to spare, or an hour to go get coffee on blah 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 day?
And if you start, let's say like, I'm just making up numbers. Let's say you have like, over a period of weeks, you have like 10 dating options, and they keep asking this, and then you lose like a bunch of them because they're like, oh, this woman seems difficult, and then they just disappear, ghost. What do you say about that? Like, do they need to change their strategy or stay firm?
I was scared that having all these boundaries, because I'm not used to having these kind of boundaries, I was afraid that it would push people away. And what my mentor told me is it's only going to push the wrong people away. The people who can't respond to your boundaries, who can't be with boundaries. Somebody who is willing to respect what you need and what you want is the kind of person who's gonna respond to this kind of dating plan. And that is such a gift, because it will weed out all the ones that don't do their own boundaries, that don't do your boundaries, don't do their own boundaries.
And what's so freaking interesting, I think, about this.
Tell me.
What word do I hate hearing?
No.
Hate it.
He hates the word no.
But think about that. You had to tell me no a lot of the time. And so with a lot of women, if they said no or had boundaries or rules, I hate boundaries, I hate rules, I hate the word no, I would have left very quickly. But what's that tell you about me and you staying together after hearing boundaries, hearing no's, hearing rules?
Mm-hmm.
What's it tell you?
I mean, it tells me that you really want to be with me.
So it's pretty effective of getting guys that really want to be with you in front of you, asking you on dates, and doing it a way that works for both of you. Like the things you wanted, it just so happened that all your date ideas are the things that I like doing. Like my date is walk.
Yeah.
Like I like to walk.
You were sober dating without knowing it.
You like to go to hot yoga. I like to go to hot yoga. So it just aligned.
Yeah.
And so the wrong guys would have been like, I don't want to do any of that crap. And they would have been like, and she's a lot of work and she's difficult. Like, no thanks. But I was like, she's so awesome. She wants to do all the same things I want to do, and she wants to do them at the times I want to do them. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really wild how much alignment we found with each other. It's kind of, I don't know. It's divine,
Ooh.
I think.
Is there anything else you want to say about the dating plan, or have we wrapped it in a nice little bow?
You know, give yourself grace with it. It takes practice to put it together, and to, like, I think dating is a practice. I think it's a beautiful practice. And what else do I want to say? I mean, I had a dating log. Like, I actually would write down after my dates, like, what was great about it, if there were any red, yellow, or orange flags, and to do that process, like, pretty immediately after the date, so that you remember, so it's fresh in your mind, and you don't have time to, like, justify certain red flags or brush over things, right? Is to really to keep a very clear, I don't know what the word is, but yeah, just to keep a clear log of your date experiences and have fun.
Oh yeah, I want to add something, or ask you about something.
Okay.
Like, all the way back at the beginning, you were talking about like what your dating intention was. Mm-hmm. But I remember you also said, like, at that time I had a list of like 5 things I wanted in a partner. And you're like, that's stupid. And eventually I figured out it was stupid. And Helena was telling me it was stupid for a long time.
Did I tell you that was stupid?
I mean, I'm sure you didn't say that, but that's how I eventually perceived. I'm like, wow, I'm a moron. Why am I doing this? Anyway, why I brought this up is you, on our second date, talked about how you wanted to feel in partnership. And I think that was part of your intentions. And then you listed how you wanted to feel. And I think that was your guiding light for how you dated, is like, do I feel what I designed? And so maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, gosh, you can help me with that, because I had such a good answer. So I asked you first. I said, what kind of relationship are you looking for? What kind of relationship do you want to create? And I think you passed it back to me.
Oh, did I?
I don't know. Did you?
I think I probably answered, but then it came, or no, I did pass it back, because you had this amazing answer. I'm like, I want that.
Yeah, I think you said, like, maybe I want to get married eventually, but you actually weren't even clear on marriage in that moment.
Okay.
I think, because I forget why you said something. Anyway, I was very clear on what I wanted. And so when you passed it back to me, I said something along the lines of, I want a conscious relationship with somebody. I want a relationship where we can be honest with each other, where we can say the thing that we're feeling, the thing that could end the relationship, that we're afraid might end the relationship, in order to bring us closer and in order to get us more connected. And I want somebody who I can, I don't know, was there anything else to that? Like conscious honesty.
I think that was the thing I really liked, is like, say the thing that could end the relationship, because then it was just like blatant honesty, blatant vulnerability. This is who we are. And so if we got to the point of wanting to be together, it's like all our cards are on the table. Yeah. And if we're meant to be together, it's because this is authentically us. There's no mask on, and let's do it. Yeah. So it felt like nothing was off the table in terms of conversation. Like nothing was too weird to talk about. Nothing was
going to be judged or
Yes.
criticized. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a huge freaking weirdo, so I needed someone I could just like be like, here it is.
Are you weird? What's the weirdest thing about you?
Oh boy.
I want to know.
I don't know.
You do have some weird things, but they're like quirky.
Okay.
You don't know what the weirdest thing about you is? What would you say?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. This was not on the script, so.
No. Making me
We're going
uncomfortable.
off book. I know, I feel it.
All right.
Squirmy.
You're
Squirmy.
making me talk about things I don't want to talk about.
Oh.
So I think we're going to end here. But before you go, I want to give some offers. One, so we've got this amazing dating plan and this conscious dating plan on how to date. But what I'm amazing at, and frankly the best in the country at, is giving a system at how to get you on dates. So I want to give you access to my free webinar. So we'll have a link down below if you're on YouTube in the description to get. It's about 50 minutes, but it's going to be the best 50 minutes of your life. I've spent over 10 grand just producing this webinar, and it literally shows you how to go from single into a relationship via my 50-12-1 system, which basically is initially a shotgun approach of asking 50 men out, getting it down to 12 saying yes, and then picking one from the 12, repeating this 6 to 8 times, and you should find someone you like. If you couple this with what you've just watched, the conscious dating plan, you are set up to be successful.
So good.
Now, doing this by yourself can kind of stink. If you want, I will also put a link to sign up for a discovery session with me. And this will be coaching with me and my team. That could be with me, Helena, Kimmy Seltzer, or other folks on our team, so that you don't have to do all of this by yourself, and we can walk you through everything to get you from single into a relationship. We can make sure those orange, yellow flags are not creeping in where you just continue to date these folks, but we actually get rid of them and just propel you towards men that make sense, that are healthy, that are conscious, that you can actually build partnership with. How fabulous does that sound?
He walks the walk. He doesn't just, he's like, it's amazing. You really you show up as an incredible man. Like, I just remember that from the first thing, the first date, the way you showed up and the way you held me and the date, it felt so good. And I just want everybody to know that, he's the real deal.
Oh, thanks, Paigey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the compliment you gave me. You're like, everyone should experience a date with Mike Goldstein. I was like, whoa, really? Was that good?
Yeah, I did say that. But now I don't want anybody to experience a date with him anymore.
Yeah, good call.
I'm the only one.
Okay. But yeah, if you'd like help from us and the team, and Paigey will help me, and she's always helping me. So if there's ever guidance needed, I can always use her as a resource.
I'll give you this. You can use this conscious dating plan.
I have the conscious
There you
dating
go.
plan. But yes, please sign up. We would love to help you. We have the highest success rate in the country at 83% of folks getting into partnership. And I imagine after doing this for a decade and continuing to learn, we're only going to get better at this. So please help yourself. Let's get you into partnership. And we'll see you next podcast. Bye.
Bye.